Welcome to the First Spiritualist Church of Alabama. We each have our own journey as we seek to find our place, if you will, our understanding of life, our spiritual journey. And it is about a journey. Throughout our journey, and I've learned and I keep learning a lot about myself and a lot about life and a lot about what's going on. It is a growing process. If you ever reach a point in your life to where you think, I've got it figured out, you're lying to yourself. If you seek to just grab a hold of something that you've been indoctrinated with since birth, since early in life, whatever, you're not growing. You can stunt your growth or you can move forward and grow. And this is what life is about. And I would even suggest that if there's an eternity, if there's a life after life, that is still about growth throughout eternity. Otherwise, what's the point? If you think you know it all, if you think you've got it figured out, then that is sad because you have stunted your growth. Life is a process of accumulating losses, and I can speak clearly upon that. How we integrate or ignore or process or push away from these losses of everything jobs, friendships, relationships, health, things that matter to us, it becomes patterns. It's our nature as humans. We form deep connections, bonds with other people, clearly. Some of those we're born into, and some of those we develop as our life goes on. And we also develop connections with animals, places, things. Well, you can go along and you can hear a song, and a song can trigger something. You need to bring back a memory from 20, 30 years ago or longer because you've created a deep connection. It is burned into you. The things you love provide you with an immense amount of joy and even give you a newfound purpose in your new life. Yet, in all that, we lack in being fully prepared for the loss of something near and dear for us. Such a traumatic loss and losses occur. It's part of life. I often state the number one cause of death is birth. You are going to die, and so I am going to die. And our body and mind responds in the form of grief. The grieving process can be a long and arduous, but it's absolutely necessary to move forward with this life. Grief is very common. WebMD website conducted a survey back in 2019, grief beyond the 5 stages, which we're most familiar with, surveyed 1,084 people, and of these, 780 reported grieving a life event in the last 3 years. That is 72% of the respondents. That's how frequently we humans deal with grief. I grieve for all the losses. I grieve for all that I've ever lost in life. I grieve so that I can walk through to the other side. And to walk through to the other side, in my situation, my grief comes from a loss of my entire family, my connections, my roots, my ancestors, those who were close to me throughout my life are all gone. And this has enhanced my spiritual journey. This has gotten me involved in things like ghost hunting, paranormal research. You're looking for answers. To me, it's not just a hobby. In our world today, we have all sorts of gadgets we use to try to communicate. Is there a spirit present? We have what we call spirit radios. These are and tools that in recent years have become a thing. And for the most part, I think it's become a thing for what I call hobbyists. They're not really, they already have a preconceived notion and they rely on these tools. In the world of psychic mediums and mediumship, some would have you believe that it takes a special person born with special talents to be able to reach out and commune with your ancestors, commune with the deceased, your loved ones. I don't agree with that. I think we all have the capacity to connect. It is a healthy thing that once you have lost a loved one, it is healthy to have some form of communication. And it really doesn't matter at the end of it all, the grieving process, it doesn't matter whether there's an actual connection or not, because it's healing for you to even vocalize a conversation with its deceased person. And it's proven that it's healthy. Whether you believe you're actually talking to the dead or not. Some actually go to the graveside of a beloved one who has deceased, and they will have communication. Not far from me is a small cemetery, and almost, I think, on a monthly basis, the family gathers at the grave of their loved one, the deceased husband, father, son. And this, they have kind of like a tailgate party at his graveside, because this person left such a mark on their lives, was such an integral part of their lives, that even in death, he, and I know it's a he, continues to be so. So let's set aside your beliefs as far as God is concerned. Let's set aside those details and let's talk strictly about communing or communicating with the dead and the importance of such conversations in part of the grieving process. Part of what I just went over as an introduction to this is found in a book I wrote. I wrote this because I've dealt with such loss and grief in my life and still am. That's why my spiritual journey is still growing. A journey of grief and loss. This is what we do. This is who we are. In our world, and where I have come, I believe now that I'm going to involve myself in what is called spiritualism. I tend to be more pragmatic than a lot of believers are. So spiritualism is the science, philosophy, and if you will, religion of continuous life, based upon demonstrated fact of communication by means of mediumship with those who now live not in the physical realm, but in the spiritual realm. Spiritualism is a science because it investigates, it analyzes, and classifies facts and manifestations demonstrated from the spirit side of life. Now, I'm not going to totally knock these devices. I'm simply saying they are not necessary. How's that? I'm not going to dissect this. I'm going to simply suggest that these are not necessary if you are really into this for the sake of dealing with grief and loss, especially. Spiritualism is also a philosophy because it studies the laws of nature, both on the seen and the unseen sides of life, and it bases its conclusions upon present observed facts. It accepts statements of observed facts of past ages and conclusions drawn therefrom, was sustained by reasons and by results of observed facts of the present day. Spiritualism does indeed become also a religion because it strives to understand and to comply with the physical, the mental, and spiritual laws of nature, which could be said are the laws of God. But keep in mind, in referring to God, we don't try to overdefine God. We speak, and I speak more clearly, as a infinite intelligence, energy. And I think we can all agree that it is all about energy. A spiritualist is someone that believes, as the basis of our religion, in the communication between this and the spirit world by means of mediumship. And we endeavor to mold our characters and conduct in accordance with the highest teachings derived from such communication. You can say the universe guides me, this infinite intelligence. Or if you prefer, you can say that God guides me or spirit guides me. A medium is one whose organism is sensitive to vibrations from the spirit world and through whose instrumentality intelligences in that world are able to convey messages and produce the phenomena of spiritualism. We also deal, I believe, and utilize spiritualist healers who are either through our own inherent powers or through mediumships are able to impart vital curative forces to pathological conditions. And again, this is something you could call a placebo effect if you desire. So there are so many realms to this world. This phenomena of spiritualism consists of prophecy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, even the gift of tongues, laying on of hands, healing, visions, trance, levitation, raps, all the above. It's almost whatever you connect to in this regard can be the instrumentality used in your journey of grief and loss and to provide hope. A spiritualist can be a Catholic or a Buddhist. Your predominant belief is and should become the religion of spiritualism. And spiritualism is, of course, as I started out, it is a tribune. Science, philosophy, religion. Religion, of course, we know is a man-made product. And to have faith or believe in a certain way that feels right to you. And that's why I don't use dogmas or creeds. I want the basis, or we want the basis of our belief to be in communication with those who have crossed over to the spirit side of life. We do believe in God, recognizing God as a label, but we don't try to define God for people or put God in a box or in a book. It's a collective consciousness that is a anthropomorphic sense, in an anthropomorphic sense. That would be too simple. I like to use the term infinite intelligence. It represents more of an energy than a being. It's more than just a religious organization. A lot more. Yes, we do plan to hold services once a week. And we will continue to do so, or I will continue to do so. And we are founded upon a declaration of principles, not commandments. And even the teachings of Jesus were defined as principles, not commandments. Even the teachings in Christianity of this Jesus came and he defined the law as a failure and said to change the heart and be motivated by principle, not law, the root of your motivation. Education, of course, is important as we investigate, as we continue, and as we grow. So with all that said, I would like to welcome you, if you're interested, into this world of spiritualism. To add to this content, all are mediums, all have the capacity to do what the rest of us have to do in one form or the other. No tools required. You can use them if you want. It is a form of intuition, I guess you could say, right? You've probably heard that term many times, but maybe you don't fully understand it. You've heard of women's intuition, which is one of the most popular examples of the word intuition. They meet someone for a coffee date, and instantly know that they aren't all that they seem to be. You've noticed someone walking behind you and you instinctively speed up because you got some strange, weird feeling. Can't put your finger on it, but that intuition is strong. Or how about watching a chess match or any sporting or gaming event, and the competitors make moves so fast that it's almost like they aren't even thinking about it. No one sees it coming in the checkmate. Soccer keeper decides which way to drive on a penalty shot before the other player even kicks the ball. We often attribute these kinds of actions to the power of intuition as well. You might even experience it yourself on a more micro level. You decide to rely on a gut feeling and it end up working out splendidly. That could be intuition, working without you even knowing it. And this all ties in with mediumship and our connection with the spirit world. You can call it intuition. These feelings, these gut feelings, this knowing that I shouldn't take this route or something don't feel right. Can't label it. I don't understand it, but I think I better act on it. Here's a book that'll help you get started there. This may be the first step in your road to mediumship. So later on, we're going to jump into a service on this Sunday of mediumship. And we're going to see how that goes. It takes practice, like anything else. The more you do it, the more natural it comes, just like with intuition. So 2 books to help understand where we're going and what this church or spiritualist church is all about. These 2 found on Amazon.com, or just get a hold of me and I'll get you a copy. Would be a good start for where I'm going with this. I wish you all peace and love, and we will continue this very soon. Thank you very much.